What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Comixly Podcast, the official podcast of Comixly.com. My name is Joseph, and this is episode number 19. On the program today, Angela and I are talking about the 2016 video game Inside. This is a Play Dead video game, also the makers of Limbo. Angela and I get into, or I guess we played the game this week, or I played it, Angela watched it, and we gathered together on the internet this week to talk about it. This was an interesting episode, really fun. We haven't done a game in a little bit. Last game we did was Kentucky Route Zero, which was another fun conversation, right? You know, I think like the gaming episodes we've done so far have been some of my favorite episodes to record, maybe because Angela and I tend to have really different reactions to the games that we play. Maybe that's because I'm the one tending to pick the games. Angela's got some coming up that she's picked, but I've picked these first few, and so just getting into it with her about what she responded to, what I responded to, and where, you know, what hits for us and what misses for us in this game. I think this game is mostly hits for us, even if it is more of an intense game, not, you know, in its length or in what it's asking of you, as far as like, you know, Kentucky Route Zero is asking you to read a lot, and then, you know, a little bit of a longer game. So it's a little bit of an ask in that sense. This is a pretty short game, but, you know, definitely, I don't know if I would call it a horror game, but it's definitely in that genre, right? There's some scary stuff, for lack of a better word. There is some horror elements in the way that your character, dies, or with the death of your character is represented throughout the game. So yeah, we get into how we responded to that and what we liked about this game, the ending. This game has a notoriously kind of, maybe not notoriously, but it has kind of a shocking ending that is, not something you see every day when you play video games. So we get into what we liked about that as well. But overall, really fun conversation. I was happy to record this one with her and hope that all of you enjoy it. You're going to hear that conversation on the other side of this short break. All right, how do you want to start?
I don't know. I think it's your turn to start it.
It's my turn to start?
I started it last time with 1, 2, 3 podcast.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1 podcast.
Podcast. So I just finished playing this game a few hours ago, and it wasn't, I don't know, it was very stressful. Like, I'm a little bit stressed out right now. I know I probably don't sound it, but it was at least more stressful than I was expecting. And we'll talk about why and how the game does that. So I was thinking, because I played through it once, and you watched some people play it a couple times, and I'm wondering if the stress or the tension of playing it comes through in watching it.
Probably not. I don't know if it's just because of who I chose to watch it. It actually probably is because of that. Because I watched Game Grumps play it, and they're not,
okay.
They're not like super, super serious.
Yeah, they definitely take a more comedic approach to the games that they play. But that made it
entertaining for me, so.
Yeah. So, and you just watched Game Grumps? Did you watch anyone else? Or
I tried to watch Jacksepticeye, but he was really loud, and his voice was really annoying at that time in the week for me personally.
Okay. So what impression did you, I don't know if we've said the name of the game. We're talking about Inside this week, which is, maybe I'll go to Wikipedia. Maybe we'll go back to Wikipedia and see what it says. But Inside is a puzzle platformer adventure game developed and published by Play Dead in 2016 for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One. The game is now on iOS and Nintendo Switch, and there's also a Mac version. The player controls a boy in a dystopic world solving environmental puzzles and avoiding death. It's the second game from this studio, following up their 2010 game Limbo. I've never played Limbo, but I know people like that game a lot. But I think it's another sort of vague. I guess not vaguely. This game is horrific in certain parts. And throughout, if you're not good at it, but, unsettling horror genre, creepy, dystopic. But yeah, so like, I guess, so we came away with like very different probably came away with very different impressions of the game. Or I guess, what impression do you have of the game? Like, or did watching someone play it at all make you want to go and try it yourself?
No, it just reaffirmed my belief that I could probably not get through it if I tried to play it.
Why don't you think you could get through it?
I'm not like a puzzle person, and I'm also not like, when it comes to like maybe more like maneuvery type thingies, or like when it comes to like running very fast and stuff, I'm not good at that.
Okay. So you don't get to control how fast your character runs.
Yeah, or like running like away or whatever.
Yeah, but that adds to the tension of the game, because it's actually interesting, right? If you go down and look at the like control things on the Switch, at least, it's this very stylized sort of just one page. There's three controls. There's like run, so you use the joystick to run. There's jump and there's grab, and that's it. And it sort of, shows the controls in this very like nice stylized way on an all red screen. But that sort of lack of control creates a lot of the tension, right? So it's cool when the game starts. You just kind of, it comes up on this scene in the forest, right? And it says like play deads inside, and then the like new game or whatever comes up, and you hit new game, and this young boy just sort of drops down from a short cliff, and you're just like in it. The game's just like going. There's no loading screen. It's just like started, and you start running to the right, and you're in this forest, and it's foggy, and there's big trees, and you seem quite small, and you're going for a while, and you're like jumping and swimming, and there's like they're very good about making it obvious that you are not, that you're necessarily hunted, but that you don't want to be found. What
was your reaction? I'm assuming that you did get caught a couple times. What was your reaction when you first got caught?
So the first time I got, you're probably like 5 or 10 minutes into the game, and you're running, and you have to like run across a clearing, and there's nowhere to like hide, right? Because other points you can sort of like stop behind something, and then if there's a person with a flashlight, the light will turn the other way, so you can go, because the game uses that quite a lot, like stay out of the light, and then if you're in the light, you'll get noticed, and then you'll die somehow. It's in some horrific manner, you'll die. But so in this one, right, you just had to run across this clearing, and it's not quite obvious what's going to happen, but suddenly a dog starts running towards you, and you just, like, you can't control how fast your characters run. You can you're just pushing the stick as far as you can to the right, and then it's really gruesome, but the dog like grabs you, and you hear your character sort of yelp, and the dog's like gnawing at you, and it doesn't cut out it. Like the game, this is obviously like you've died, you have to restart from your last checkpoint, but it like lingers on the dog, sort of like tearing you apart, and like it's not gory, but there's red there's red blood that appears on the ground, just like indicating that you died, and you died in a lot of pain in this really gory way. And it's really confronting the first time, because you're like, I think this game is, I guess I don't play enough 2D. Right? So this is 2-dimensional, right? Because you're just moving left and right? You can't move in 3 dimensions. I don't play enough 2D games, and especially enough 2D platformers or 2D side scrollers to sort of know what all the genre conventions are, right? I've played like Mario, I've played Sonic, I've played Hollow Knight, right? So like, and again, just like a few Mario games, like Mario's not my favorite thing, but I've played those games. But so for me, someone who's not super familiar with all of those games, you don't expect I guess it instantly, it was like, oh, okay, so this is a 2D platformer, but this is like doing something else, something very different from any other 2D platformer that I've played. And right, so, this game's about 5 years old, and I guess I wonder how it lands, or like how it lands then, and how people think about it now. I know it's still regarded as like a very good game, but I wonder if part of that is just sort of the shock of like, or like, I guess the question would be, was this something entirely new when it came out? And like, is the shock part of like something that people responded to? Cause yeah, the first time that dog got me was like really confronting. And then the next time I died was just a couple minutes later. I couldn't figure out how to avoid one of the people like looking for me in the woods with a flashlight. And you straight up get like cornered and someone shoots you and it's, you know, again, part of it is just like I haven't seen that in this type of game before, right? That's something that I expect a lot more from like a 3D, some sort of like 3D action adventure game than I do a 2D side scroller. So that was really, it was shocking. You know, I don't know if I can say much more beyond that, but it does prepare you for what's going to happen next, because you're going to die. You die a lot in this game, or at least I did, and the deaths only get more brutal as the game goes on. How was that?
It's funny what you said about the 2D side scroller. I'm just looking. I recently watched playthroughs of Little Nightmares 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'm like, it's not, I don't know if it's like as gruesome, but it's definitely like, you expect like one of those games where you just go like left and right to be like chill, and
yeah.
Little Nightmares 2 was not that.
Okay. Oh, the first note I wrote down is this game has zero chill. Like, none at all. I'm actually playing, I'm going to talk about it in our one-shots at the end. I'm playing another 2D game where you play as like a ninja. And as a ninja, you can like, you know, it's all about like stealth and movement, and you can kill guys, like you stab them in the back, but it just somehow is more chill than this game, right? Because even when you die in that game, it's still a little bit cartoony. Like this game, even though it has these sort of not blocky, but just slightly more abstract graphics, right? You always know where you are. You always know what the situation is, and like shapes in the foreground and the background are you always know what it is, but like there's not a lot of color, right? Like an object will just kind of be like one color. And so, you know, but they make it work, right? So it's like a little bit more abstract, but like you never are questioning what something is in this scene, right? If it's like a ladder or a handle or a building or a smokestack or a crate or something, you always know what everything is, but it's not like there's not a ton of objects, don't have a ton of color to them, and like aren't very defined in that way. They're very defined in the shape of what they are, but not like in the way that they're colored. How was that first, right? So Game Grumps, right? They're playing through it. They're kind of being like funny. How were those like first deaths? How did they respond to those?
Well, so there's Aaron and Dan. Aaron was the one who was playing. No, Dan was the one who was playing it. Aaron was just kind of chilling and like making jokes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of screaming on their end.
Yeah.
A lot of swearing. And I remember that you could tell that like Dan was just like, man, like I really feel for this kid, even though like I don't know him, but like it's just like it's horrifying to like imagine being in the situation. And that's what he said. And I mean, I guess I don't know if it's just because I didn't play it, but like I didn't really like. I don't want to. I feel like it sounds bad. I didn't very much care what was happening. It was like a movie to me.
Yeah.
I had no skin in the game, so I was just like, oh, you guys died. Gotta start over again.
Yeah, I think there's, and we talked about this a little bit with Kentucky Route Zero, just like there is something about being the one like making, like, you know, even with that game, right, when you're just like picking the dialogue choices, right, or you're like moving around those like very simple dioramas, right? Something we talked about is like, because I was the one like holding, when we played the first couple of acts together, right, I was the one sort of holding the controller and doing that, and we were like talking about the decisions, right? But there's something about just the buy-in, right? And sort of how that controller connects you to what's going on in this screen, right? And it seems ridiculous because I was actually thinking, I got about halfway in. So I played most of it today, and I was thinking today, oh, maybe I'll just like watch the playthrough of the rest of it, and like we'll go from there. But then I was thinking back to like how the other day when I played that first like half hour, and like how shocking in just kind of what I felt when I was shot, or when that dog got me, and just like, no, I want to like see how this feels to like be the one doing this and the one trying to do this, because I don't think
so basically what I'm hearing is the next time we do a video game, you're probably going to make me actually play it next time, huh?
Well, no, I don't no, because I was thinking at the end we do need to like play some happier games, right? I don't like, I think the subject matter can be like heavy, right? Because like we want to play like Sign of the Sojourner and
maybe
Spiritfarer.
brighter games.
Well, yeah, so Sign of the Sojourner and Spiritfarer are definitely like way more colorful games, but like Sign of the Sojourner is about communication, Spiritfarer is about death, right? So still like heavy, but they're just approaching it in a different way because yeah, Kentucky, I like that game a lot, but I know we're mixed on
this is super fun to keep on going back to it.
No.
But I'm over it.
We're done with, okay. But well, yeah, so I guess I was thinking about that. I was like, no, I want to like play this game. I want to finish this game, right? And like, yeah, right. That anxiety that you feel when you're being chased, because they do I don't know if they mentioned this when they were playing, right? But there's so many moments where like you're being chased and you sort of just make it through the door and slam it shut, right? And like you hear the thing bang, you hear the like dog or the person chasing you like bang up against it on the other side. And there's so many times when you feel like you just made it in the nick of time, right? And of course it was all planned out and that's the exact way it was supposed to happen, right? But it feels like, oh, I did something, like you feel like you're the one who timed it perfectly, right? And that's like that's the best you're gonna feel in this game, right? When you're like escaping from death, literally, that you feel like, oh, I timed that perfectly so I didn't die that time. But the game, I don't know, did they comment on that at all about how perfect some of those like moments where you escape are? No? Okay. So, yeah, it's really cool. You see it a bunch and you start to think about it and it's like, of course it's supposed to be that way, right? But so it very much gives the game this sort of like clockworky feeling, right? Where the pieces are falling, or everything's supposed to happen this way, right? The pieces are falling into place because they're supposed to fall into place just like that. But I don't think it makes it feel any less when you do slam that door shut, or when there's a couple moments when they're swimming. And that was terrifying. Do you remember like the monster that chases you when you're swimming? Yeah, that is maybe worse than the dogs. Are you sure that's because you don't like swimming? I don't know. I mean, I would hate to drown, but like, I don't love swimming.
Yeah,
but
I think a lot of people would agree with you, Joey.
Yeah, I think that'd be a rough way to go, but I don't know, right? I think you're like, when you're not a good swimmer, right? Being in the water can be like very vulnerable. And when there's this like, and the other thing about it is when you are in the water and that thing is chasing you, it's this like, it's not a mermaid. It has arms and legs like you do. It has this very long hair, but I think that adds to it, right? Because it's something that looks just like you, kind of, that's chasing you, that you're trying to get away from. And I think that adds to the tension there, right? There's a bunch of moments when you sort of like just get out of the water, or you flip a switch and you like swim under a door that's closing, and it's like, it feels great, but it's like, it just, the tension builds, right? And I'm like, you're like gripping the controller, right? I'm like playing on the Switch and I'm like pushing that little joystick so hard. I feel like I'm gonna break it because you don't have any more control over the character than just like jump and grab and everything. So I think the game sort of knows how to put all of those pieces together to really evoke that. Like, I don't know if I was ever afraid, but it's its own sense of dread inside of you at what's going to happen.
Stressed?
Yeah, stress, right? Stress, dread. I don't know. It really works well doing all of that. There's no real story to talk about here, right? Because there's like the ending. Because like I feel like I didn't truly understand what was going on until the ending. And even then, I'm still a little bit foggy. So the game, right? You start off, you're this kid, you're running, and you never understand, you're never told, there's never any indication of why you're running. You're just running to the right mostly, right? You're running or swimming or going to the right. And there's no dialogue. There's almost no text. There's like some numbers at some point, but there's like very little text. And so you're sort of, you're going to the right, you're escaping. You don't see a lot of other people, right? In the beginning in that forest, I guess you see some men who are looking for you. You see some dogs who are looking for you. Once you make it out of there, you go into a farm and there's like a pig that you need to sort of manipulate to get through this door. You see a bunch of slaughtered animals. And as you keep going, you start encountering these machines that let you mind control these sort of like lifeless bodies that sometimes you see standing around. You put on this like glowing hat and then you can sort of mind control these bodies and get them to do things for you, like sort of in the foreground or the background of the screen, right, that you can't really get to. And so, right, those characters have like no agency, right? You're the only characters with agency that you see are you and the people who are hunting you, right? No one, and then at the very end, you see some office workers, right? You see people, scientists and office workers, right? But there's no life in this game, right? There's no people, you don't see what people's lives are, right? You see the remains of people's lives. You're running through like an abandoned farm that's full of dead animals, right? Or you swim through the remains of what looks like a mall, right? It's very much implied that sort of this is a world that is in the process of falling apart for the most part. And
gonna edit that out later, probably.
I'll do my best. A world that is or has fallen apart, but you're not sure why. But you're a boy, right? You're one of other characters. You're like shorter than them, right? And so it kind of puts you into that. So one thing I was thinking, right, is like this is like a very you're like pretty athletic, right, in terms of like jumping and like grabbing and like swinging on things, right? You're pretty athletic, but you're like very vulnerable. Like those dogs will tear through you in one go, right? You can like fall from great heights, right, or even like medium heights, and you die. You drown very quickly, right? So you're like athletic, but you're very vulnerable, and the world is extremely hostile. But it's not just even that it's like hostile. It's like it for me, like as I kept dying and those kept piling up like in these more and more brutal ways, it feels like the fact that you are like a being with agency was sort of, the world didn't like that, right? The people that are hunting you didn't like it, right? All of this like brutal machinery that you have to navigate around, right? It's not a world made for you or like made for humans to operate in, right? So the world is not happy that you are there operating on your own with your own free will in it, and it's trying to like bring you down and kill you the whole time. And it's that feeling builds up quite a lot throughout the course of the game, and you're just kind of like, I mean, there were definitely points where I was like, I don't really know if I want to like finish this. I knew it was short. If like I knew it was about like 2.5 hours. If there was another 2 hours to this game, I don't know if I would have finished it.
How come? Just because it was depressing?
It is just, I have this with I don't like games where you just like die over and over and over again. Like that, for me, like psychologically or whatever, just that sort of beats me down a little bit, right? Or at least I can't play them for very long. I guess it's something like a first person shooter or something, right? Where we're like, if you're playing online, you're playing against other people, like that's kind of what is supposed to happen. But if you're playing like some sort of single player game and you're just like dying over and over and over again, I find that really tough to get through, right? There's like a whole series of, or like, I guess it's kind of a genre now. They're called like Souls games, and it's like it's Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and there's a game called Bloodborne, and there's a game called Sekiro. I don't know if you've heard of these, but the point of those games is kind of that you're running through like this area, right? You're moving through this area or navigating through this, it often takes place in like very like Gothic kind of fake European cities, right? So there's lots of like courtyards and like I don't know, like bridges, right? So there's not like a ton of open space to move around in, but you're moving down like corridors and passageways and things, right? And there's all these sort of monsters in there, right? And you have to figure out the pattern the pattern of attacks, the pattern of ways that you need to move in order to beat the monsters, right? And then sort of and they're very strong, and they will kill you quite easily if you are not very precise with your movements and the way you attack them with your weapons. And the point of those games is that you repeat those sort of hallways or corridors, right? And they're kind of sectioned off into levels, and you repeat that one level over and over again until you get to the boss. And that at the point you get to the boss, you've done it so many times that you're good enough that you have like that one perfect run, and you go through and everything feels great just because you've done it so many times. And like, I've tried to play those games, like I can play those games, but that I don't find, some people find a lot of enjoyment in that. I don't find a lot of enjoyment in like banging my head against that. And I don't think this game was meant to, but there were a couple points when I died like 10 times in a row. I was like, I can't really figure out how to do this, right? Or like and it's always, some of it was like me just not wanting to like slow down and feel like, okay, what's the puzzle here? Like exactly how do I need to move, right? Because there are some points where like you need to be very precise with your movements. There's and I think this is probably the coolest part of the game. Do you remember there was like a point when like there's sort of this big like booming sound, and if you're not like behind cover when it booms, like you just kind of are obliterated and blown off the screen. Do you remember that?
No.
You have to like hide behind stuff when there's like this big shockwave.
Maybe.
No, maybe. Okay, so there's I don't know. There's like this one big building you go through, and somewhere off in the distance, right? It sounds like there's this bomb going off, right? And you hear this huge explosion, like really far away. You don't see it. You don't even see any light. But like 2 seconds later, there's this huge shockwave. And if you're not like standing behind a wall or standing behind something, your character is literally just like ripped to shreds and like flies towards you on the screen. And the only thing that's left is like a blood stain on the ground. It's one of like the worst. It's bad. It's really bad. And I kept dying like that because there was this one point that I couldn't figure. You have to like move a door, right? Because you're like holding the door so that you can stay behind it when the shockwave goes off. And you have to like, it's sort of, the door is being held in place by these rails. And at one point there's a gap in the rails, and I couldn't figure out like what the timing was to get it across the gap. And I like kept dying, right? And it's like, it's rough because that death animation is like pretty gruesome, and it builds. And yeah, I don't know, that really, it's so weird, right? Like the sort of violence that you like can see, right? And the violence that is acceptable to see just like on a personal level, and the violence that is like, oh, that's too much, I can't look at that like much more, you know what I mean? Like in some formats it's okay if things are like really violent, but like in this little 2D side scroller, like seeing the blood stain of my character was like really wigging me out or something. I don't know. Yeah, you know what I mean by that though?
Oh yeah, I don't play a lot of games, so I don't really.
No, but even just like in movies or something, like sometimes for whatever reason this movie is like too violent or you can't handle it, and like this other movie like you can handle it for some reason. I don't know. I get that with movies sometimes too.
I don't know what kind of movies you're watching.
Well, I don't know, like
Midsummer?
I couldn't watch that movie. No, I couldn't.
I think I could have, but I don't know because I never watched it because we had to turn it off. I'll never know.
I thought you finished it though. I thought you seen it before.
Nah, I just looked up the ending.
Oh. Yeah, when they started throwing people off that cliff, I couldn't do it. No. You think you could have finished that?
I don't know. I think like I don't watch like a lot of gory movies or like movies that have that, so I guess I wouldn't know.
Okay. Have you ever seen anything by Quentin Tarantino?
Nope.
No. Yeah. I struggle with his movies because he does like this very stylized like version of gore for like artistic reasons. I'm not a huge fan. No offense to anyone who's listening who's a Quentin Tarantino fan. It's just not for me. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if I have like too much more to say, but it like builds. That feeling builds up when in this game when you're seeing yourself die over and over again, and like you can go through this game and not die a single time, like if you're careful with the puzzles. But like I wasn't being particularly careful, and I found that difficult. But yeah, so like, and I guess I think we started talking about the story. There's not a huge ton of story. You're running, through all these different, like, so the forest, the farm, then you start running through all these buildings, then you're sort of swimming through these submerged, like, right, there's like a submerged mall, there's a submerged like office building, there's like I think you're on like a ship at one point, all of these sort of, again, right, so it's a world that is decaying or falling apart, right, something terrible has happened, and then you get to the end, right? You sort of run up, and along the way, right? You're running in at these various points. You're sort of putting on, there'll be like this mind control helmet. You put on the mind control helmet and like move this group of group of like they look like bodies. They're they're human apparently, right? At one point, like they're missing arms and heads, some of them, right? So they're sort of, as you get closer to the end, right, the bodies that you are controlling get less, they resemble the human, right, with 2 arms and 2 legs and a head. They resemble that less and less, but they're still like moving, right? They can still move, right? They can still serve your purpose, but you're, again, right, no one ever says anything to you. At some point, like some dogs attack you at various points. There's these sort of underwater sirens, or not mermaids or sirens or something that are attacking you. At one point, one of them helps you so that you can swim underwater longer, but you're constantly being chased, right? You're constantly having to like deal with a world that seems to want to kill you, doesn't seem to want you alive in it. And then you're getting, you don't know where you're running to, but at some point you sort of run across this big open space, and then there's like this huge, kind of looks like a nuclear reactor. It's like this huge, big domed building. And you go inside and it's an office building, and all these people are sort of running to this viewing area, and you're not sure what they're looking at. And you make your way inside of the viewing area, and it is a big flesh ball with arms.
It's the huddle.
It's the what?
It's called the huddle.
It's called the huddle?
Uh-huh.
Oh, how do you know? Is that what they were calling it, or did you look that up?
I looked it up.
You looked it up? Oh, I did not know that. The huddle, I guess. Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's what it calls it on Wikipedia. Did you not believe me? No, I did, but that's so weird. Like, it's a flat, I don't know. I don't think that accurately describes how creepy and weird it is. Is that fair? I feel like they could have come up. I feel like
with a better name.
Yeah, there's definitely a better name, right? Like even just like the mass, right? The mass or the blob or something. I don't know.
The blob?
Well, that implies the shape of the thing, at least, right? Implies the way it moves. I don't know. What do you got? What would you prefer?
I don't mind the huddle.
You don't mind the huddle? All right. Well, so the huddle, but it has like arms and legs sticking out of it. And yeah, so how did they respond to it when you were watching the playthrough? How did they respond to seeing that? And then like how the gameplay changes at that point?
It was just like, what's going on? What's happening? What is this? Oh, I'm part of the huddle. That's weird. What's up with that? Oh, we're gonna, let's kill all these scientists. Yeah, you put us through hell. Die. Oh, shoot. Now we're just rolling along on a beach, and this ending is just sad. And that was it.
Okay. Yeah. So you disappear into this huddle or mass of bodies, and then...
Because you try to help them.
Yeah, you're trying... There's like these things hooked up to it, and you're trying to like pull the hooks, the attachments off, and then you disappear into it. And that's the first point when you hear voices in the game, right? You break out of this containment shell, and you hear screams, and the huddle is this sort of glob or like mass that moves pretty quick. There's all these like feet sticking out of it that are like kicking really hard to like move.
You can move fast with more feet.
Yeah, you can move really fast. You're really strong. You can sort of like flop up and over things. It has like the physics on that are really like cool and interesting to play with, actually, just in the way that you can sort of push it on and over and around things, and sort of how you have to, right, and you have to like use it to like manipulate things, right, and how all of because there's like, it has all these different hands, and you kind of have to like steady different objects, right, and the gameplay at that point, right, how you, right, it's still puzzly. You're still having like flip levers and like hit buttons and get up and over things and under things. That remains the same, but just sort of the finesse and the way that you're having to think about your movement in order to accomplish those completely changes in this really interesting way. Yeah, your character disappears and you're not seen again. And I don't know if you had any thoughts about when you're watching this, right? It seems like you're trying to escape, right? You're like smashing through walls and you're like tearing stuff off, and right, people are running away from you. And at a couple points, people are helping you, right? They're like opening doors or flipping levers. They're helping you at certain points. But do you remember that point when it like, there's that, you sort of get to a big open room, and there's like a box dangling above, and there's a circle on the floor, and you're sort of reaching for the circle. It's right before it ends. You're reaching for the circle, and then the floor opens up and you drop down. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh, okay. So like and it's right before you go out and the game ends, right? And to me, the box was there when you got into the room, and you can see these like sort of shadowy outlines of people in the background. And there's like this outline on the floor where the floor opens, and it implies to me that either like this, you know, going back to this idea of like the clockwork systems, right? This is the way it was supposed to happen. Like it implies to me like, oh, this has either happened before, or like this was kind of planned, or they expected this in a certain way, right? Or like they know how to deal with it. Did you get that sense too?
I got that sense when I looked up the explain ending thing on YouTube.
Oh, okay. So that was this. What did they say? Because that's the sense I got.
There was like theories that like the whole game was like about control, right? And it was like this debate on like, were you actually controlling yourself, or were you like in an experiment where like every time you die you get smarter and figure out how to do these tests that like these scientists are putting you through, especially because like at the end, like when you first like enter the building and like get in to like go free the huddle, like the scientists suddenly, like, the people just suddenly don't care that you're there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, no one tries to stop you. So there's this point where it's like, were you even controlling yourself in the, like, were you just, like, was this all, like, not, like, staged, but was this all just an experiment? And then it got, like, a little meta where it's like, you were in control the whole time. I don't know.
But let's think about this, right? Right? Because there's these points when, like, your character puts on this mind control thing to, like, control other characters, right? But, like, we're on the other side of the screen controlling that little boy, right? In a sense, he's... At that moment, we're controlling him and he's controlling something else, right? There's like these I like that. That word didn't come up into my mind, but it was like the idea that this was staged or that this was supposed to happen, right? Which sort of throws everything that you did, right? How could they have expected you to run all that way and make it through all those things? But somehow they did, right?
Real quick, yeah. And so, like, a theory was, like, that the boy was controlled by the huddle the whole time. Like, the huddle was trying to get him to free him. And then, like, the part where the mermaid puts that, like, thing on his head, which was, like, similar to, like, what was on the huddle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah.
It's sort of the huddle. I like that, right? Because it works with what you're doing, right? Because you can never go any other direction than towards the huddle, right? It never gives you that choice, right? And so even when I was saying like, oh, the world doesn't like that you're a player with agency in it, but like maybe you were never even that, right? Mm-hmm. You were just something that had to make it through a series of obstacles. And there were things that were hostile towards it, but they were supposed to be because this is a hostile world. I like that theory. I think that works a lot with like what you're doing. I don't know, right? And I guess, right, that could be part of the theory of dread, right? That thing when like, I don't know if you ever have this, right? When you're sitting kind of like second guessing yourself, thinking about like, oh, why did I do that, right? And that can be like a very anxiety inducing feeling if you're sort of second guessing something you already did, or like being very anxious about a decision you have to make and thinking like, am I doing this for the right reasons? What does this say about like the type of person I am, or like what is important in my life? I think that could play into it as well. But yeah, so I didn't look at any of that, but I like that who was controlling who, because that just made me think there's a point in the game when you put on a mind control helmet to control someone, and you have to get them to go put on a helmet to mind control another person, right? And so you're like 3 or 4 layers deep, right? If the player is mind controlling the person, or if the huddle is mind controlling the character, and the character is mind controlling someone, and they're someone else, right? It's like this very, very like meta text about who is in control, or who is affecting or kind of dictating what's going on. I like that. But I mean, if we go to the very end, right, what was the point, right? Was the point so that you can go, so this game ends, you escape the facility, you break through the wall, you roll down a hill, and you come to a rest on the shore of like a river or a lake or something, in a ray of sunshine, but like you can't move anymore, and the huddle's not moving anymore, and it's not, you don't know if it's dead or if that was the point, right? But is that what the scientists knew was going to happen, right? When they dropped you through that floor, because that's it, right? They drop you through the floor into this like water tank, you break out of that, and then you like break through another wall and roll down, right? Did they did they know that was going to happen? Is that what they thought? And that it was all useless in the end anyways, because you're just going to get to that point. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about that? What was it all for, Ange?
I don't know.
Not much.
Why does it always come to this?
Well, I don't, I think this game is asking you to take it seriously, right? I know, like, maybe Game Grumps. Well, I don't know. What did they say at the end? They were sort of approaching it in a more lighthearted sense, right? But, like, what did they say at the end when you're sort of sitting, when...
They did go quiet. Like, they weren't really joking. It was more just like, oh, I can't believe this is the end. Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, I think that the game is asking you to think about what you're doing and what's going on, right? And that it doesn't tell you in any way what that ending is supposed to mean, right? And it's very ambiguous, but it does... I think that thing, right? What was it all for, right? Which kind of is a question that stops you in your tracks. Like, why did we go through all of that when you just end up stranded? Stranded nowhere.
Definitely not social distancing.
No, the huddle is not social distancing.
No.
Yeah.
Cancel the huddle.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad I played it, it just being able, when people talk about it, and I've heard about, I knew, like, at the end that you sort of play this big, like, flesh ball. I knew that. I didn't know anything else about it, but, like, interesting experience. I don't think it's, like, one I need to go back to, right? I guess there are some alternate endings.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at Wikipedia right now. It says if you activated a certain switch at one point, there's an area that you can access at the end, and the boy pulls the plug from the socket upon which the character takes the same stance as the zombies. The game ends moments later. Yeah, so I think that might be, like, a little bit earlier in the game, because I remember that. But yeah. Anything else, Ange?
The next game we play needs to be more colorful.
Yeah. The next game we're going to play is Spiritfarer, which is super colorful.
Okay.
Spiritfarer, yeah. We'll play. That's not for, I think, a couple months, but we're going to play Spiritfarer next.
Excellent.
All right. Should we go to the next part of the show?
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back, everyone, after a short break.
Again, Joey made a mistake and he has to correct it again. It's not like we already had this part recorded and you couldn't just use it.
We had some technical difficulties in the interim there. But before we went to break, I said we were going to be playing Spiritfarer next. We're going to be playing Night in the Woods next. We're going to be playing Spiritfarer in a couple of months, but I think Night in the Woods we got coming up in March, April. Yeah, I think we're going to be playing it in their next couple of episodes. So excited about that, because I've read some things about it, but I haven't read, like, too much that gives it away, so I still don't quite know what that game's about. So that'll be exciting. But Angela, what is your one shot for this week?
The Guest Book.
All right, what is the Guest Book?
It is an American anthology comedy television series created by Greg Garcia. The series centers around the lives of employees of and visitors of vacation and rental properties. Mm-hmm. It's got funny people in it. Is it Danny Pudi?
Danny Pudi, yeah.
Abed. It's got Abed. It was really weird to see Abed, but not Abed.
Yeah,
it was weird to see the body of Abed, but not Abed.
Yeah, I've seen him in a couple of things, and he usually plays, like, a dad, and it's just weird to see him play in, like, a pretty
It's just
pretty
like,
normal...
it's all just a role. It's actually Abed. He's just playing a role.
Yeah. All right, so Danny Pudi's in one who, like, what's the structure? Give me a little bit more about the structure.
Allow me to read an overview of the first episode. Because it's basically a different family comes in every episode, but then, like, the recurring people who kind of make drama are the people who live in the town. Mm-hmm. So, Tim and Sandy, aka Abed and Lauren Lapkus, traveled to a cottage wanting to spice up their relationship after feeling pressure from Sandy, who was upset at the lack of creature comforts available to her. Tim visits a local strip club owned by Vivian, who is unaware that her stepson Frank is filming the encounter. Frank shows Tim the tape and demands money in exchange of keeping a secret. Tim knocks Frank out and locks him in his car. The next day, Tim throws Frank's car keys onto the side of the road as he and Sandy depart.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's like this, like, wacky, like, obnoxious comedy.
Yeah, very, like,
thing.
situational, like, relationship comedy.
Yeah, and then Vivian is, like, basically the bad guy of, like, the show.
Okay.
And she basically does that to, like, a lot of people.
And you said it's an anthology, so it's new actors every season?
Every episode.
Every episode is, okay. Oh, and they're all connected because it's like an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And it's how many seasons?
Just 2.
Just 2?
I finished it already.
Okay. Is it like good? It's like, were you like paying attention? Was it just on and you were listening? How did you
I was
watch
watching.
It? Okay.
I was playing The Sims and watching.
Okay. And like funny or like chuckles or...
I don't know. I think our sense of humors are quite different. So I was laughing. I'm not sure if you would laugh.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't think they're too different. We like a lot of the same. I feel like when it comes to comedy, we like a lot of the same stuff.
Would you laugh at an old guy or would you laugh at a lady with very, very big boobs and someone accidentally shooting a crossbow through one of her boobs and her just being like, ow! Is that funny to you?
I'm smiling right now. I'd have to see it. I mean, potentially. That could potentially be funny.
Okay, then it might be funny for you too.
All right. Nice. So that's The Guest House on Hulu.
The Guest Book.
The Guest Book on Hulu. Okay, cool.
What about you?
My one shot is another game on the Switch. It's called Mark of the Ninja, and specifically the one on the Switch is called Mark of the Ninja Remastered because it has a couple of upgrades, and I think it might have a couple DLC things, but you buy it all in the one package when you get it on the Switch. But it's this it's a very fun, again, another 2D sort of side-scrolling thing, and the story is that there is this company and they're trying to... Oh, I haven't played it for a couple days, and so at least try to remember this. They're trying to eliminate your clan. They don't call it a clan, but you're part of a group or a clan of ninjas, and they have a specific name, and this company is specifically targeting your group. So you bear the mark of the ninja, which gives you sort of superpowers, but it also means that you're gonna have to die at the end. Otherwise, sort of you've like marked yourself, which is with these tattoos, and they have given you superpowers. But if you sort of live too long with it, they'd like overtake you, and I think you kind of turn evil. So you're gonna have to die at the end, but like you're gonna save your clan first. I'm only like 2 or 3 hours in, but it's really fun because it gives you a bunch of tools, and it shows you lightly how to use them, right? But you have like jump, you can like grapple to different places, you can like do like throwing stars to take out the lights, you can like throw firecrackers to distract people. So you have all these tools, and you're sort of running through buildings and over the top of buildings, right? And you can go like or you can like go down underneath them through like the like ventilation, or you can go through the building via the ventilation system, or you can like go through the rooms, or you could go over the top of the buildings. So like in each sort of whatever like building it drops you into, there's a bunch of different ways to get through it, and you have a bunch of different tools, and the game rewards you for not killing anyone, but I'm not very good at it, so
nice.
Yeah, it is good. You're like your score goes down the more people you kill, right? And it says that your I think it's technically your honor score goes down the more people you kill, but I'm not very good at it, so I end up having to like kill some people.
No honor.
I have little honor in that sense. but there's guys who are looking for you, and there's dogs patrolling, and there's like lights that are moving looking for you, and you have another person. That's kind of how you know where you need to go, because both of you drop in, and then she kind of takes off, and you have to chase after her. But it just drops you in this room and gives you a bunch of tools, and it saves pretty regularly, so you don't have to go back too far when you do die or something. And it's not it's puzzly in the sense that like you have to figure out the best way through, but there's not one right answer, which I really appreciate. And I don't know if I will. It would be nice to like spend time with this game over a long period of time and get really good at it and see like, oh, by the end, can I go through non-lethally, right? Because if you're good at this game, you're like you're actually moving through it pretty quickly. Right now, it's still taking me a while, but if you're good, I think you're moving through the levels really quickly, right? And there's a lot of, you're building up momentum and it's really fluid. Yeah, so it's like really cool. There's still figuring out the possibilities with it, but like a lot of potential for replaying and playing it a lot of different ways, which I really appreciate. Very different from Inside in that way, in that you can there's a lot of different ways to get through it, but really fun. I think you would enjoy it, but I think you'd get like I worry you would get like maybe you would get frustrated with it a little bit quickly, because I think
it already sounds very frustrating.
Yeah, I think it can.
I'm already over it.
Frustrating. But yeah, so that is my one shot for the week. That is Mark of the Ninja on the Switch, but I think it's also on. I think it's on like everything. I think it's on PS4, Xbox. So find it where you can. But that brings us to
just Google it
or Google it. Yeah.
Why do we have to tell you everything?
Well, we want to sound like we kind of know what we're talking about. I don't know, but Google is available. The internet is available for you to figure it out.
Yeah, you don't need us.
No, don't say that. They do need us. They do. All right, that brings us to the end of the episode, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another week. You can follow Angela on Instagram at glow.angela. Do you want to plug your other Instagram, Ange, or no?
iJune_ if you like bullet journals.
Yeah, Angela talked about bullet journaling in a one-shot a couple weeks ago, and that Instagram is mostly dedicated to your, like, bullet journaling. Is that right?
Yeah, and there's, like, one picture of, like, a pen pal letter I sent out. But it's, like, it follows the aesthetic.
It's all about the aesthetic, right? No,
it's all about the aesthetic.
I was telling you the other day offline that I bought this book that it's, like, going to help me start a little bit. So I think in a one-shot coming up, I'll have kind of a little bullet journaling thing to add, but no, it's really cool. It's really cool. Angela's taking some really nice pictures on there, and then there'll also be a link in the show notes if you want to follow that Instagram as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Joey Glowacki. That's JoeyGlowacky. The music you heard in this episode is a new song. We're really excited about it. Maybe we had this song last week, but either way, we're really excited about this song. It is a lo-fi remix of the song Concerning Hobbits by PatrickMoonBird. You can find their music on Spotify and SoundCloud. Please rate and review this episode on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast listening app. You can also email the show by sending your messages to podcast@comicsly.com. All reviews and messages are greatly appreciated. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we will see you next week. Have a great one.
Bye.